Vivian came to see me on a Thursday afternoon in March. I remember because the rain was coming down hard enough that I could hear it drumming against the window, and she sat on my couch still dripping, like she'd run from her car without bothering to use an umbrella. She was 31, worked in marketing, engaged to a man named David for 2 years, together for 5 before that. 7 years total. That's the kind of detail people cling to when they're trying to prove their relationship matters, when they're trying to convince themselves that time invested equals value, equals something worth saving. She didn't come to talk about David, not initially. She came because she felt like she was losing her mind, having panic attacks at work, crying in bathroom stalls, waking up at 3 in the morning with her heart racing, convinced something terrible was about to happen, but unable to name what. Her doctor had suggested therapy before prescribing medication. She thought maybe it was work stress, wedding planning stress, the normal anxiety that comes with major life changes. But within the first session, David's name came up 17 times. I counted. She described him the way people describe someone they're trying to convince themselves to love. He's a good man, she said. He works hard. He's always been there for me. Past tense and present tense tangled together, like she wasn't quite sure which timeline she was living in. When I asked what always been there meant, she got quieter. Well, lately he's been distant. But that's normal, right? People get comfortable. Relationships change. It doesn't mean anything's wrong. The way she said wrong told me everything was wrong. Over the next few sessions, a picture emerged. David had been pulling away for months. Small things at first, staying late at work more often, being vague about his plans, showing irritation over things that had never bothered him before. The way she organized the kitchen, the shows she watched, how she loaded the dishwasher. He'd started going to the gym at odd hours. He'd become protective of his phone in a way he'd never been before, angling it away from her when he scrolled, taking calls in another room. Vivian had noticed all of it. But she'd done what so many people do when they sense betrayal circling. She'd worked harder. She'd started making his favorite meals, suggesting date nights, being more affectionate, more attentive, more accommodating. She'd lost weight, started wearing makeup more often, bought new lingerie. She'd apologized for being too needy after he snapped at her for asking about his day. She'd apologized for not giving him space when he spent an entire Saturday at the gym. She'd apologized for being boring when he seemed distant during a dinner she'd spent hours preparing. Every time she tried to bring up her concerns directly, he'd dismiss them. You're being paranoid. You're overthinking everything. I'm just stressed about work. And then just when she was about to give up, just when the silence became unbearable, he'd soften. He'd pull her close and say he loved her. He'd plan a surprise date. He'd be the David she fell in love with for just long enough to make her believe she'd been imagining everything. I know something's wrong, she told me during our 4th session. I can feel it, but I have no proof. Nothing concrete. And when I try to talk to him, he makes me feel crazy for even asking. Like I'm inventing problems where there are none. Like I'm the one destroying our relationship by not trusting him. This is what emotional manipulation looks like in real time. It's not always loud or obvious. Sometimes it's just someone making you doubt your own instincts, making you feel unreasonable for noticing what's right in front of you. Vivian's anxiety wasn't irrational. Her body was screaming at her that she was in danger. But she'd been taught, like so many of us, that love means trust, and trust means never questioning, never doubting, never acting on intuition if it might hurt someone's feelings. So instead of listening to herself, she listened to David. She swallowed her fear and tried harder. Then came Valentine's Day. David forgot. Not in a busy, distracted way. He forgot completely. Came home that evening with no flowers, no card, no acknowledgement that it was a day that had always mattered to them. When Vivian mentioned it, trying to keep her voice light, trying not to sound accusatory, he got angry. Actually angry. Said she was being materialistic. That Valentine's Day was a manufactured holiday designed to make people spend money. That she should be more mature than to care about stuff like that. She apologized. Standing in their kitchen with tears running down her face, she apologized to him for being upset that he'd forgotten. That night, after he went to bed early, She found herself going through his coat pockets, not even sure what she was looking for. Found a receipt from a restaurant she'd never heard of, dated 2 weeks earlier, Tuesday night. The Tuesday he'd said he was working late. The receipt showed 2 entrees, 2 glasses of wine, dessert to share. She didn't confront him. She put the receipt back exactly where she found it and spent the rest of the night sitting on their bathroom floor, trying to breathe through the panic, trying to find an innocent explanation. Maybe it was a work dinner. Maybe he'd taken a colleague out. Maybe it was a mistake, a receipt from a different day that somehow ended up in that pocket. But she knew. Somewhere deep down where we always know she knew. When she came to see me the next week, she was different. Hollowed out. She showed me a photo of the receipt on her phone. "What do I do?" she asked. "If I ask him about it, he'll say I'm being paranoid again. He'll make me feel guilty for snooping. But if I don't ask, I'm just letting this happen to me. What do you want to do?" I asked. She started crying. "I want to believe him. I want there to be an explanation that makes sense. I want to go back to 6 months ago when everything was fine. I want to stop feeling like this. And if there isn't an explanation," she looked at me with something like desperation, "then I need to know. I need to actually know, not just suspect. Because I can't keep living like this. I can't marry someone I don't trust." I told him that. Last night, I told him I need him to be honest with me, that something feels off, that I'm drowning in anxiety, and I need him to help me understand why. I told him this is his last chance to tell me the truth about whatever's been going on. What did he say? He promised me nothing was wrong. He held me and he cried, actually cried, and he said he's been stressed about work and he's been taking it out on me and he's sorry. He said he knows he's been distant and he wants to fix it. He said he loves me. He said we're going to get through this. Her voice cracked. He seemed so sincere. And I believe him. I want to believe him. I've heard that phrase thousands of times. I want to believe him. I want to believe her. As if wanting something badly enough could make it true. As if love were a protection spell against betrayal instead of what it actually is, the thing that makes betrayal possible in the first place. "We're going to spend this weekend reconnecting," Vivian continued. "No phones, no work, just us." He promised. I nodded, wrote something in my notes that I don't remember now. What I do remember is the feeling in the room. The way hope and dread can exist simultaneously in the same space, in the same person, pulling them in opposite directions until they don't know which way is up. "That sounds good," I told her, because what else could I say? She left my office with her shoulders a little straighter than when she came in. I watched her walk to her car through the rain, and I felt something I'd learned not to trust over the years, a sense that things were about to get worse. Vivian didn't come to her appointment the following week. She canceled by text an hour beforehand, said she wasn't feeling well. I sent back something neutral, told her to reschedule when she was ready, and felt that familiar twist in my stomach that comes from knowing someone is in pain they're not ready to name. She rescheduled for 2 weeks later. When she walked into my office, I almost didn't recognize her. She'd lost weight she didn't have to lose. Dark circles under her eyes that makeup couldn't quite hide. The kind of exhaustion that comes from not sleeping, from lying awake next to someone and trying to read their breathing patterns like tea leaves, searching for clues about whether they're really asleep or just pretending so they don't have to talk to you. She sat down and said, "It's happening again." The reconnection weekend had gone well. Too well. David had been attentive, affectionate, present in a way he hadn't been in months. They'd gone for a hike, made dinner together, had long conversations about their future, about the wedding, about the life they were building. Vivian had felt the anxiety loosen its grip, had felt stupid for doubting him, had convinced herself that she'd been creating problems where none existed, that she'd nearly destroyed something good because of her own insecurity. Then Monday came. David went back to work, stayed late without explanation, came home exhausted, barely spoke to her, went straight to bed. Tuesday he had a last-minute work event he couldn't get out of. Wednesday he was distant, irritable, snapped at her for asking how his day went. Thursday he said he needed space, that she was being clingy, that he couldn't breathe with her constantly checking in on him. "It's like that weekend never happened," Vivian said. Like he turned back into a stranger the moment it was over. And I know what you're thinking, that I should just leave, that I should stop doing this to myself. But I can't, because those moments when he's good, when he's really there with me, they're real. I know they're real. And if I can just figure out what I'm doing wrong, if I can just be better somehow, maybe he'll stay that version of himself. This is what hope does to us. It makes us believe we have control over other people's choices. It makes us think that if we just try hard enough, love enough, sacrifice enough, we can make someone want to stay. We can make someone choose us. We can make someone be honest. Vivian had stopped eating properly, started having panic attacks again, worse than before. She'd taken time off work because she couldn't concentrate, couldn't sleep without medication, couldn't function without constantly checking her phone to see if David had texted, if he was thinking about her, if he still loved her. Have you asked him directly? I said. About the distance? About what's changed? Every time I try, he gets defensive, says I'm being dramatic, says I'm creating problems. Last night, I asked him if he was seeing someone else, and he looked at me like I'd slapped him. Said he couldn't believe I'd accuse him of something like that. Said if I can't trust him, then maybe we shouldn't be together. Then he left, went to the gym at 9 at night, and didn't come back until after midnight. How did that make you feel? She laughed, but it wasn't a real laugh. Guilty. I felt guilty. Like I'm the one doing something wrong by asking. Like I'm destroying us by not being able to just believe him and move on. This is gaslighting in its purest form. Not the dramatic, intentional kind you see in movies. The subtle kind. The kind where someone makes you doubt your reality so thoroughly that you start apologizing for your own pain. Where you become afraid to voice your concerns because you're terrified of being labeled paranoid, insecure, crazy. Vivian, I said carefully, you don't need permission to trust your instincts. You don't need proof to honor what you're feeling. Your anxiety isn't irrational. Your body is trying to protect you from something it knows is happening. She started crying. But what if I'm wrong? What if there's nothing going on and I'm ruining everything because I can't let it go? What if I'm the problem? What if you're not? She didn't answer, just sat there crying, and I sat there wishing I could tell her what to do, wishing I could give her the evidence she needed, wishing I could spare her what I suspected was coming. The next week, David agreed to come to a session with her. Progress, Vivian had texted me. She was trying so hard to frame it as a positive, as if him showing up was proof of investment rather than what it probably was, damage control. He was handsome in that conventional way that some men are. Tall, fit, well-dressed. Polite. Charming, even. Shook my hand firmly. Made eye contact. Said all the right things about wanting to support Vivian, wanting their relationship to be healthy, wanting to understand what was happening so they could fix it together. I've learned to distrust charm. Real remorse doesn't usually come packaged so neatly. During the session, David played his role perfectly. He acknowledged being distant, blamed work stress, wedding anxiety, the pressure of planning a future. He reached for Vivian's hand, said he loved her, said he never wanted to lose her, said he knew he'd been pulling away and he was sorry, and he was going to do better. Vivian's face transformed. This was what she'd been waiting for. Validation, acknowledgement, proof that she wasn't crazy, that something had been wrong, and now it was going to get fixed. But I was watching David's eyes when he spoke, watching the way they went flat whenever he looked at Vivian, only to warm up again when he looked at me, performing sincerity like a well-rehearsed script. I was watching his body language, the way he angled himself slightly away from her even while holding her hand, the way he checked his watch twice during our 50-minute session. What do you need from Vivian? I asked him. To feel less stressed? To feel more connected? He considered this. Space, I think. Time to decompress when I get home from work. I know Vivian needs reassurance, but sometimes I feel smothered. I feel like I can't have a moment to myself without her thinking something's wrong. Vivian's face crumpled. I don't mean to smother you. I miss you. I miss feeling close to you. I know, he said. And I'm going to work on that. I promise. Another promise. Another reassurance doled out just when she needed it most. They left that session holding hands. Vivian texted me later that night. Thank you so much. I feel so much better. I think we're going to be okay. I didn't respond right away. Sat there looking at that message, feeling the weight of what I couldn't say. That I didn't believe him. That every instinct I'd honed over decades of listening to people lie to themselves, and each other was screaming that David wasn't telling the truth. That he was buying time. That whatever he was hiding, he was still hiding it. But you can't tell someone that. You can't say, I think your partner is lying to you based on intuition alone. All you can do is ask questions, plant seeds, hope they start trusting themselves before it's too late. I wrote back, I'm glad you're feeling better. Remember that progress takes time. Keep checking in with yourself about how you're actually feeling, not just how you want to feel. 3 days later, she texted me at 11 at night, emergency. Can I call? I called her. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. He's doing it again, she said. He's pulling away again. It's been 3 days since the session and he's back to staying out late, being cold, acting like I'm a burden. I don't understand. He promised. He said he was going to try. Why is he doing this to me? Where is he now? Out. He said he needed to clear his head. He left at 9 and he's still not home. I tried calling and he didn't answer. I'm sitting here in our apartment going insane and he's just gone. I could hear the sound of her moving through her apartment. Pacing, probably. That's what people do when they're in pain. They pace, like moving their body can somehow outrun the thoughts in their head. Vivian, I said, what do you want to do? I want him to come home. I want him to be honest. I want him to stop making me feel like I'm losing my mind. Her voice broke. I want this to stop hurting. I know. What would you do? If this was happening to you? I couldn't answer that. Couldn't tell her that I'd already be gone. Because I wasn't her, wasn't living her life, wasn't 7 years deep into a relationship with someone I'd planned a future with. Wasn't terrified of being wrong, of giving up on something that could still be saved, of looking back and wondering if I destroyed the best thing in my life over nothing. I can't tell you what to do, I said. But I can tell you that you deserve honesty. You deserve someone who shows up for you consistently, not just when it's convenient. You deserve to feel secure in your relationship, not like you're constantly trying to earn affection that should be freely given. She was quiet for a long time. Then he just walked in. I have to go. She hung up. I sat there holding my phone, staring at the dark screen, feeling helpless in a way I'd felt countless times before. This is the hardest part of what I used to do. You can see the pattern. You can see where it's going. But you can't live someone else's life for them. You can't make them leave. You can't protect them from the choice they're making to stay. All you can do is be there when it finally breaks. And it always breaks. Vivian came to see me the following week looking like she'd been hollowed out from the inside. She sat down and said, I think he's cheating on me. Not I know. Think. Still couldn't commit to her own certainty. Still needed permission to believe what her body had been screaming for months. What makes you think that? She pulled out her phone, hands shaking. He's been texting someone named Jamie. I saw the notifications. Nothing inappropriate that I could see, but they're constant. All day, all night. More than he texts me. And when I asked who Jamie was, he said it was someone from work. A new colleague. But the way he said it, she looked up at me. The way he said it felt like a lie. Have you asked to see the messages? I can't do that. That would be crossing the line. That would mean I don't trust him. Do you trust him? Her face crumpled. No, I don't. And I hate myself for it. I hate that I've become this person. This paranoid, suspicious, pathetic person who goes through her fiancé's pockets and checks his phone notifications and lies awake at night creating scenarios in her head. This isn't who I am. This isn't who I want to be. Vivian, you're not paranoid. You're responding to evidence, to patterns, to inconsistencies. That's not weakness. That's your instincts working exactly as they should. Then why does it feel like I'm the one doing something wrong? Because that's what manipulation does. It inverts reality. Makes the person being lied to feel guilty for noticing the lies. Makes the person being hurt feel responsible for the hurt. Makes you apologize for having feelings, for having needs, for existing in a way that requires honesty and respect. What do you want to do? I asked again. I gave him an ultimatum. Last night, I told him I need complete honesty or I'm done. I told him I need access to his phone. I need to know who Jamie is. I need him to stop making me feel crazy. I told him this is his last chance. His actual last chance. If he can't be honest with me now, then I'm leaving. My stomach dropped. Not because ultimatums are wrong. They're not. Sometimes they're necessary. But because I've learned what last chances usually mean. They mean the person receiving them sees an opportunity, a deadline, a final window to do whatever they want before accountability arrives. What did he say? He got angry at first, said I was being controlling, said healthy relationships are built on trust, not surveillance. But then he saw my face and he changed. He apologized. He said he's been pulling away because he's scared of marriage, scared of commitment, scared of losing himself. He said Jamie is just a friend, someone he talks to about work stuff, nothing more. He said he understands why I'm worried, but there's nothing to worry about. He said he'll prove it to me. He said starting this weekend, we're going to fix this. He's taking Friday off work, and we're going away for a long weekend. No phones. Just us. He said he's going to show me that I'm wrong, that he's not cheating, that he loves me. She said this like she'd won something, like she'd finally gotten through to him, like this was the turning point. I felt sick. How do you feel about that? I asked, relieved, scared, hopeful. I feel like maybe I've been wrong this whole time. Maybe he really is just scared and stressed, and I've been making it worse by being suspicious. Maybe this weekend will remind us both why we fell in love. Maybe everything will be okay. Maybe. That word again. The word people use when they need to believe something that all available evidence contradicts. We spent the rest of that session talking about boundaries, about what she needed from him, about red flags and trust and what a healthy relationship actually looks like. But I could feel her slipping away from the clarity she'd had when she first walked in. She wanted to believe him so badly that she was already rewriting the narrative, already forgiving him for things he hadn't been accused of yet, already preparing to take the blame for creating problems that might not exist. This is what hope does when it curdles into desperation. It makes us complicit in our own betrayal. It makes us look away at the exact moment we should be paying closest attention. That was Thursday. She was seeing me on Thursday afternoons. The weekend was coming. Friday through Monday. For days of no phones, no work, just reconnection. Just one more chance. She texted me Monday evening, we're back. I feel so much better. Thank you for everything. I think I was being paranoid. I think we're going to be okay now. Tuesday, she canceled her appointment. Wednesday, she texted, can I come in today? Something happened. I had an opening at 4. She came in looking worse than I'd ever seen her. Face swollen from crying. Couldn't sit still. Couldn't make eye contact. Tell me what happened, I said. She took a shaky breath. My friend Melissa called me this morning. She said she saw David on Friday night, at a bar downtown, with a woman. They were. She couldn't finish the sentence. Just started crying. Friday night. Yeah, the night before we left for our weekend away. The night he took off work early to pack, to prepare, to start fixing us. She laughed, but it was a terrible sound. He told me he was going to the gym that night. Said he needed to work out before we left so he'd feel good for the trip. He left at 7. Didn't come home until midnight. And according to Melissa, he spent at least 3 of those hours at a bar with some woman she didn't recognize. She said they were close, intimate. She said she almost didn't tell me because she wasn't sure if I'd want to know. But she could not tell me. She sent me photos. Vivian showed me her phone. The photos were grainy, taken from across a bar, but clear enough. David sitting in a booth with a young woman, their heads close together, his arm along the back of the booth behind her shoulders, her hand on his arm, both of them smiling, looking at each other the way people do when they're in the early stages of something, when everything still feels electric and new. I confronted him, Vivian said, this morning, showed him the photos, and you know what he said? He said it was a work thing. That Jamie, that's who it is, the woman in the photos is Jamie, is new to the company, and he was showing her around, being friendly, and Melissa took the photos out of context. He said nothing happened. He said I'm making something out of nothing again. He said, I'm sabotaging us by refusing to trust him, by letting my friends poison my mind against him. He said if I can't get past this paranoia, then maybe we shouldn't be together. She looked at me with something like desperation. What do I do? The photos look bad, but what if he's telling the truth? What if it really was just a work thing? What if I'm about to throw away 7 years over nothing? What if? Vivian, I interrupted gently. Do you believe him? She started crying harder. No, I don't. I don't believe him anymore. I don't believe anything he says. I feel like I'm living with a stranger. Like the man I fell in love with doesn't exist anymore. Or maybe never existed at all. Like I've been holding on to something that isn't real while he's been living a completely different life behind my back. Then what do you want to do? I don't know. I don't know. I gave him one last chance. I told him I needed honesty. I told him this was it. And the same night, the very same night I said that, he was out with her. He looked me in the eye and promised me everything was fine. Then he went to be with someone else. How do I come back from that? How do I ever trust anything again? I didn't have an answer. There isn't one. Not for this. But what if I'm wrong, she continued. What if it really was innocent and I'm destroying us over suspicion? What if I leave and then find out later that I was wrong? That I gave up on something good because I couldn't handle my own anxiety? What if you're right? She sat there crying, holding her phone with those photos on it, and I sat there wishing I could tell her what to do, wishing I could make this easier, wishing I could protect her from what she was about to live through whether she left or stayed. Because here's what I've learned. Betrayal doesn't end when you find out about it. Sometimes it never ends at all. Sometimes you leave and spend years wondering if you made a mistake. Sometimes you stay and spend years wondering if you're living a lie. Sometimes the person who betrayed you never faces consequences, never apologizes, never even admits what they did. They just keep living their life, keep moving forward, keep seeing that other person or finding new people, keep telling themselves whatever story they need to tell themselves to sleep at night. And you're left holding all the pain, all the questions, all the doubt, wondering if you're crazy, wondering if it was your fault, wondering what you did wrong, wondering if you should have fought harder, loved better, been different somehow. Vivian never came back after that session. She called to cancel her next appointment and didn't reschedule. I don't know what choice she made. I don't know if she left or stayed. I don't know if David ever admitted the truth, or if he kept denying it until she had no choice but to accept his version of reality or walk away. I don't know if she ever got closure or answers or peace. What I do know is this. Somewhere out there, Vivian is still carrying that pain, still living with those questions, still wondering if she made the right choice. And David is still living his life, still with her or with someone else, still justified in his own mind, still free from consequences. Because that's how these stories often end. Not with revelation or justice or healing, just with silence. With someone sitting alone at 3 a.m, wondering what's real and what isn't, wondering if the person lying next to them is the person they think they are, wondering if love is supposed to hurt this much. I think about Vivian sometimes. Wonder if she ever got the answer she was looking for. Wonder if she ever stopped doubting herself. Wonder if she's happy now, wherever she is, whatever choice she made. But I don't know. And maybe that's the point. Maybe that's what these stories teach us. That sometimes there are no answers, no neat endings, no moment of clarity that makes everything make sense. Just people trying to survive heartbreak, trying to decide what truth they can live with, trying to move forward when every direction feels like the wrong one. That's where Vivian's story stops for me. That's where so many stories stop. Right at the edge of the cliff. Right at the moment when someone has to choose what to believe, who to trust, whether to keep hoping or start grieving. And I can't tell you what she should have done. Can't tell you what happens next. Can't offer you the resolution or the lesson, or the reassurance that everything worked out the way it should have. All I can tell you is what I told her in that last session. You deserve honesty. You deserve someone who shows up for you. You deserve to feel secure in your love, not constantly terrified that it's slipping away. Whether you get that or not, that's not always up to you. Sometimes you do everything right and still lose. Sometimes you give someone every chance and they use every single one to hurt you. Sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes trust, once broken, stays broken. And sometimes all you can do is sit in the pain of not knowing, of never knowing, and try to find a way to keep living anyway. That's where I leave you. Right there with Vivian. Right there with that question hanging in the air, unanswered. What do you do when you've given someone one last chance and they used it to betray you? When you have evidence but not proof, suspicion but not certainty, pain but no closure? I don't know. I wish I did.